Okay, guys, this is Ed. Can you hear me okay? Okay, thanks. With this small of a turnout, I'm not going to do much in the way of formal presentation. Is anybody here new that you don't know what Trader Vision is, or you haven't seen it, anything of that nature? Okay. Well, then we'll cut to the chase. With this small of a crowd, I'll just cut to run a couple scans, and I had picked out some charts earlier. We'll plan a couple trades. Okay, David, you have not seen the scan tool. Excuse me, guys, I'm fighting, I don't know what it is. Allergies, the plague, I don't know, I've got junk in my throat. This is the scanning widget that is built into Trader Vision. It comes with 35 built-in scans. And at some point we will add the ability for you to write your own scans. I've had that, but I've got it turned off now, and we're focused on other things at the moment. It's a very straightforward process. You pick a scan, so let's say rounded bottom breakout. You just then pick the universe you want to run against, and our application comes with a number of universes. I'm just going to choose the US market. You pick a minimum 50-day average volume in millions that you would like to use. So in this case, 0.5 means 500,000 shares per day on a 50-day average basis. And then you can specify a price. You don't have to, but I like to specify $4. And the reason is I like to have $2 million worth of average liquidity per day, and $4 times 500,000 shares gives me that. Then you just click Run Scan, and I'll make this larger so you can see. It pops up the results for you. You could use your mouse, you can use arrow keys to then just page down through the results. The scanning features, right now I've got the V-stop on there. Is that too does that hide things too much for you? I can get rid of that clutter if you don't want the V-stop, but the V-stop was our most recent addition to the charting package, and so I'd like to have that in there. But basically then you pop down through them, and let's see what I can find here. There were a number of rounded bottom breakouts that I liked. Some of them we were already in today. GSM was one that I liked a lot. We've got a nice bullish signal there. We've flipped on the 10 period 1.5 times ATR volatility stop. We flipped green today. We are holding that 50-day average, and we're looking for a move here. Let's go over and I'll plan this trade with some numbers that I had come up with earlier. So global specialty metals, let's, I don't know, 150 bucks. They reported it about this time a month ago, so we have at least 2 months until earnings, or about 2 months till earnings. We've got 5 bullish indications and 1 bearish indication, and let's plan it out with up to 3 exits. So 852 was the entry price I looked at, and a stop of about 820. Let's just take a quick look at that to see it. So I'm looking for a entry here up at these highs, basically above this candle. So an 852 entry and an 820, I think I said, stop, which is basically at the bottom of today's candle. Let's make this a little bit bigger so that we can see it easier. So right in this area. The first target that I chose then was, let's see, I guess it was about 920. And then 995. And finally, $10.70. So let's look at those on the chart so you can see them as well. Whoops. So we were looking at 920 as a first target here. Right in this area, off of these highs. That's the first target. And then 995, which is up in this area just a little bit before you come into this, about a nickel before you run into the bottom of that shelf. And then finally 1070, which will probably get us about where the 200-day moving average will be, basically across these highs, and across these lows and across these highs, right in this area. I can't get it exactly, but that's within a penny of what the targets are going to be. So that's the plan that I was looking at. It says we can do 468 shares. Let's what divides by 3? Let's make it 600 shares. It's going to be too much probably, but okay, it's less than 4%. You can adjust this up or down or sideways or however you like it. At that first target, you're getting about 8%, but that does get you 2 to 1. You can make, in this case, for this particular account, a $350 trade goal can be made at 9.10. So basically, you don't need to reach that first target in order to sell the entire position and make your trade goal. And then if you hold or sell a third at each of the stops or at each of the targets, you end up with about a 17% trade overall and about 4.5 to 1 reward to risk. So that's a very nice trade for GSM that I think you should give a look. Let's go on to the next one. And this would be the same process no matter what the pattern was or the signals. You also have the ability to run 2 scans at once. So let's say, for example, I like bullish engulfing signals. Okay, so I run that scan. I hold down my control key and go back to this rounded bottom breakout, and it shows me there are 2 that are both a bullish engulfing signal and a rounded bottom breakout. One of them is this IOTS, which I've never heard of. It must be a little company. And the second one is NKTR, Nectar. So that's how that works. It would theoretically work with more than one, but it's going to be very difficult for any particular chart to be more than one pattern and more than one signal. So about 2 is where you want to keep it. But that's the process. And then to clear it, you just go back to whatever scan you want to run. I'm just going to go back here to the rounded bottom breakout, and let's see if I can't find one of the others that I liked. Let's do it this way. car was one that I liked. It was a doji today, and I would be looking at it only on positive trading here. But what I like about it is it held the 50, and that's what we've been doing. We had a run up, we've been consolidating around the 50. Yesterday we had a Morningstar type of signal, and we closed with a higher day today, but on a doji. So let's look at that as I planned it out. It reported in early August, so we have at least a month, maybe 5-6 weeks until earnings. I think I planned this out as 2 targets. So I was looking at a 34.92 entry and a stop someplace like 33.50, 52, let's call it, to make the twos even, and a first target of around 37.80 and a second target around 40.42. I probably should make this a 2 just to keep it clean. Says we can do 100 shares. Let's just do that. Only $140 of risk. Small position for this account size, 2 2/3%. We do get our 2 to 1 with this stop and this entry price. And if I can sell half at that first target, hold on to that second half, I would get 3 to 1 on the trade, chance to make 420 overall. Now, in order to make our trade goal for this particular account, it has to reach 38.42, so it is a little bit above that first target, but you can still see that this would be a 12% trade, and it's a pretty nice little trade that's doable. Let's look at those levels on the chart. So I'm looking at an entry here, 34.92. I'm looking for an entry right in here, so basically above this high, and a stop would be down right in this area, basically the 50-day moving average. The first target then is up here, 37.80, so right about there across this high and these lows. So that support resistance level there. And then the second target's up at about 40 and change, 40.42, something like this, which is where I think the 200 will fall down to. And if we go out far enough, there was some support or some resistance out there someplace. So that's what I'm looking at in terms of that trade. Again, I think it's a nice one. You might want to look at that. Car's a nice little setup. Let's go back and pick out a couple more. Maybe I'll do 1 or 2 of your own charts. I did GSM. What about FI? Federated Investors is one that I like a lot. Look at that nice long rounded bottom. That's just about picture perfect, and the bulls have been stepping in and running here lately. We did have a little bit of a gap up doji today, so I'm looking for follow through. I'm not looking for sell off, because that does have the potential of setting up for an evening star. But let's go ahead and plan it out the way I looked at it. FII reported end of July, so we only have about a month, month and a week, something like that. But we can still maybe get 2 targets out of it. I was looking at a $25 entry and a 24.25 stop, with a first target of about 26.55-ish, and a second target about 27.95-ish. It says we can do 200 shares, so we'll go ahead and do that. a little less than 4%, $150 of risk to the stop out, which is 3%. And if we sell half at that first target, we do get our 2 to 1. We're about 20 cents short of making the goal in the trade. But if we sell half at that first target and hold the second half, we can pick up almost 12% on that second half. Gives us a 9% trade overall and $450 in profit. Let's go back and look at those levels. So I'm looking for an entry of 25 bucks. So basically an entry within the candle of today's candle. A second or a stop was set down here. Where did I set it? 24 and a quarter. Yeah, so right about where the V stop is set now. Actually 3 cents above it. So right about where that green dot is. And then the first target is out here. 26.55, which is right in the low of this candle, and the high of this candle, right in this area. With the second target up there about 27.95. Okay. And if we go way on out here, we'll find out there's a level there, and that's going to be about where the 200 is going to fall to by the time we reach it. Again, in this case, we've only got a month for this particular trade to work out before we've got to get out in front of earnings. So FII is one you can add to your list and take a look at. I like that setup. We've got a month to work with, tons of liquidity, and we've got a nice setup. Let's go back and see what else we've got. HGV was one I looked at. Hilton Grand Vacations. I don't know how that differs from Hilton in general. Around a bottom breakout. This one's just a touch early, but it still works. It broke into the RBB today. I would be looking for follow through on this, not necessarily a pullback entry or anything. I'm looking for follow through to break through a level of potential resistance here. So I'm looking at a 33.85 entry, which is right here, right about there. So I'm getting a little follow through there with a stop of about 32.50, which is right in this area here. It's a little bit below the 50-day moving average, but you know, it is what it is. The first target was up here about 36.75, I think. Yeah. So it was right in this area. You'll have to just take my word for it. I went on out there and found the levels. And then 38.50, which is probably going to be right up in this area here off of this low and this low, and probably about where the 200 will be when we reach it. So that's the setup. Let's go ahead and plan the trade. HGV. Again, we've got at least a month for the trade to work, and let's see, one entry and 2 exits. 33.85 and 32.50. With the first target of 36.75 and the second target of 38.50. says we can do 111 shares. Let's go ahead and make it an even number. 120. 3% position, $160 of risk. If we can make that first target, we're 2 cents, by the way. That target is 2 cents from making our trade goal. But if we can sell just half there, we get our 2 to 1, 2.1 to 1. And if we sell the remainder at that second target, we end up picking up 14% on the back end of the trade, 11.5% overall for 465 bucks. So HGV is one for you to consider. One last trade that I picked out, and then maybe we'll take a couple of your tickers. Let's see. TSCM, Tower Semi. Again, a nice rounded bottom breakout. The 50 has flattened out and started to move. And we've got a nice little run up, pull back, and now the bulls are breaking it out again. So I was looking for a buy about where we're at today. Basically a breakout of this level as the buy, with a stop down here about 21.80. So right in this area here. Our first target was up here at 23. Yes, right off of this, about 23.60 something. And then the last target was up here about 25 and a nickel, which is off of these highs. Yeah, just a minute. Let me do this one. Well, never mind. I'll just show that one to you now. So the entry on GSM was 852. The stop was 820. 920, 995, and 1070 were the three targets. Tower Semi. Yeah, no problem, Steve. Glad to do it. I need to get a drink here, guys. Just a second. Oh boy. Okay. 22.35 was the entry. The stop was 21.80. The first target was 23.60 and 25 and a nickel. Let's do let's make it 250 shares. It's a little bit big, but I'm going to let it slide. It's only $137 worth of risk if we're stopped out. If we sell half at that first target, we get our 2 to 1. We get 2 1/4 to 1. We're picking up about 5.5% there, 5.6, something like that. If we make 23.75, so 15 cents more than that first target, we can make our trade goal. But if we sell half at that first target, ride the second half up to that 25.05, we pick up 12% on the back end and end up with a 9% trade overall, almost 500 bucks. Okay, so that's 5 trades I've gone through. I've showed you how the scanner works. Do you have any particular one of these scans you'd like me to run, or do you have any questions? Bob, you'd like me to look at KALV. Well, Rick would tell you that is a morning star. It's certainly close enough for government work, I guess. It's in this area. Does it have enough? Man, it doesn't have. Man, it's real thin on volume. But if you can stomach it, you've got the nice bullish run up. You've been consolidating here, and now you've got that bullish signal. Personally, I'm probably going to be looking for, let's just add V-stop to it. It's always a nice tool, I think. So personally, I'm probably going to be looking at about let's call it 1820. And the stop's going to probably be, I don't know that I would go that far. Let's see what we've got out here in terms of history. Not a lot. Very little, actually. It goes back into 2016. Okay, so we're going to have to use fibs, I guess, to set up our targets. Sorry about that. Having trouble with my mouse today. Yeah, it's okay. Okay, so we had basically a 38.2 pullback of this run during our consolidation here. So I'd be looking at 23.6 as a first target. So let's call that 21.50. And if the stop were off of these highs and lows as protection, let's call it 16.25 as a stop. Let's just do it. Let's do this. For now, let's look at the 38.2 as well, which is, let's call it 23.10. So let's see if that plans. Okay, Bob. I think you and I have talked about this before. There's other people in the room that trade fundamentals and reading tea leaves and things like that, but I really don't. Unless the insiders are telling you before they sell, the fact that insiders are buying could mean anything, including, I've done it myself, tax purposes on sales, and to use up stock options on purchases. So it reported here 9:14, so you've got plenty of time left. That's excellent. And if we use those numbers, 1820 as an entry, what did I say? 16.25 as a stop, and 21.50 as a rough first target, and 23.10 as a rough second target. Let's just say we can do 100 shares. It's a tiny position, but it does have a fair amount of stop risk. If we sold half of it at that first target, you'd be picking up 18%, but you'd only be getting, less than 2 to 1. So the question is, can we adjust this? Can we move the stop up? The V stop says it should be clear down here at 1588.89, and I was giving it the benefit of the doubt up here at 16.25. We might be able to move it up, so at 1630. We might be able to pull our entry down and say, instead of entering at 1820, which is right there, maybe we enter at $18. Would that help us at all? If this was just 18 bucks? What did I do? There we go. If we knock that down to 18 bucks, we get our 2 to 1. So keeping that 16.25, I'd probably try to find someplace in the middle there. Try 1810 as an entry, and 1630 as a stop. Is that close enough for us? I don't know. You have to decide. But those are the kind of scenarios you have to play with. In order to make the trade goal here, and your trade goal is going to be different, obviously, but you need to get to 2160, which is a dime more than that first stop, or that first target. I'm sorry. Not that difficult. Very doable, particularly with no history up there. If you can hold on that second piece, you'll get almost 28% on that second piece. Will give you a 23% trade overall. So I think it's worth doing, or worth looking at. You got those numbers and everything you need there, Bob? I'll take the silence as a yes. Okay, does anybody else have a chart they want to look at? Okay, that's plenty, guys. Let's go back. Go-Go was on my rounded bottom breakout, I think. Scan, I saw it earlier. Yeah, it was there. So Go-Go is a nice rounded bottom breakout. You can see it's been basing here since May, beginning of May, and very nice setup there. Let's say that I'm looking for on these 4 days up, I'm probably going to see some consolidation, so I'd probably want to make it a consolidation buy. I would probably put a support and resistance level right in there where I've got the mouse now. So let's just call it 5.25. So I'm thinking that 5.25 is going to be support. I'm going to want to buy at, I don't know, 530, 540. Let's just split the difference, call it 535. So I'm going to want to buy someplace like this after a little bit of pullback. We've had 4 nice days of run up. We need to rest a little bit and retest this to prove that it's now support. If we do that, I'm going to have my stop. My V stop now says 5.25, and I'm probably going to have my stop about 5. Oh, let's just do 515 for grins. Where's our target's going to be? Well, I think this waterfall gap's going to, or this waterfall is going to act like a gap. So I'm not even really going to probably worry about, well, I might put a first target in there, about 7.25, just because the 200's there. But really, I think the first one's probably going to be up here about $8. let's see what that plans out like. We've got a couple months. And I said 535, I think, and 515 as a stop, and 7.25 as a first target, and then $8. Let's just do 600 shares. Maybe let's do a little more than that. Let's do 800 shares. That'll work. We sold 400 of them at that first target. We'd be getting a massive 9 to 1, 9.5 to 1, and selling 400 at that last stop. We'd be picking up almost 50%. Do I think you're going to get both those numbers? I don't think so. It's too big of a move. So someplace in that area, 715 to 720. And I think it's going to pull back into this area here on a rest down here about 520, something like that, 525. So it may have to consolidate here for a day or two. But that's what I would think about that. I think that would work. I think you're going to get some consolidation here. Let's move this over. So I think you're going to get some consolidation in this area, and look for a bullish signal there with a pretty nice little entry there and a stop down in this area here. Looking for something like this is your trade, and on across there is your second trade, or second target. Okay, David Lilly. Wow. Lily's been a dog lately. I know Rick's complained about it mightily. Just won't get going. After that beautiful run, it's just consolidated here for, well, probably 3 weeks anyway. Do you already own this? I mean, I don't buy hammers. Some people like them. I don't see a lot of value in them. I definitely don't trade against a wick, but I'd rather have the wick on that side for me for a long trade, but I don't find it particularly heartening. I would definitely be looking for my entry up here about 107. I'm not even going to try to plan this out as a stock trade. This would pretty much have to be options. So if you're looking for an entry up in this area, 107 and change, and there's where your V stop is, so someplace in there is where you want to have your stop. That's giving it a pretty big leeway, and let's call it $5. That's 5%. If you think it's going to run like this, that's great, but I don't know that it is. It's a long, slow mover. Now, with options, the leverage makes it a different game, but This is a retirement account type stock that typically is not going to move unless you're in the options. So okay, Valerie, that's PZZA. I always forget what program I'm using. Papa John's, I think I may have re-entered this today. Nice Morningstar type of signal. Let me go back over to the other chart so I've already got the lines on it. Run up consolidation here. It's broken into the RBB, and now we've got the Morningstar type of a signal there. Not much of a way of a follow through, but it's still workable. I would probably be looking for about a $47 entry, and I think the V-stop looks reasonable, which is 45.81. I can't remember if I set those orders this morning or not. I'd have to check. This is probably going to be my first target here, about 45.60, and maybe a second target up and off of these candles here. So let's call it 53.25. So if you got two targets, that's what you'd be looking at. $27. What did I say? About 45.80. Let's call it 50.70. I did it today. Oh, you mean the previous trade? Yeah, someplace back in here, I had a trade laid out for the room. Yeah. Let's just take a quick look. Maybe I can find it. Probably wouldn't have been in here. I'll just plan it again. Okay, 100 shares works. We get more than 2 to 1. We actually get more than 3 to 1 at that first target. And we do in fact make our goal for this account at that first target. Oh, this is silly. Why is this? I didn't put the 5 in. That's why. That's better. So it comes out to a 10.5% trade overall. So those are the numbers I look at, and that's a pretty good scenario. $120 risk for a chance to make almost 500 bucks. That's doable. Okay. Everybody needs a gun. Kimberly, are you already in this? Are you looking to buy? You know, to me, this is certainly not a buy that's chasing. I would look for a pullback on this at this point. This had to have been earnings or some sort of big news, and it's just running the 45 after that. To me, it's a bit extended and needs to pull back for a new entry. But if you're asking because you're already in it, that's a different situation. Yeah, that's your eyes as good as anybody's. That, you know, some people use a rule of X number of up candles means wait. Some people look at how far it's pulled away from the T line. To me, this just looks like the bulls have been charging here ever since this day. Somebody's going to need to take profit soon, and I don't want it to be right after I buy. So I understand that. Yeah, everybody goes through it, and here's the bad news is once you get out of that, it will come back from time to time. You'll second guess yourself. But that's the value of having a room. People to work with and a sanity check yourself. So yeah, that's what I would do. I wouldn't even plan it until it pulled back. And it looks to me like there might be a nice little level of support right across these highs here. About where the V-stop is, so it could pull back into there, make a little J-hook type. That would be nice. That's what I would watch for. Steve. Wrong program again. S1MC. Symantec. Yeah, I think you could still get into this. Basically, you've got two dojis. In fact, it hasn't even taken out the entry price that I planned out the other day. I don't think this one has run too far. You look at across these lows back in here, and across these highs in there, and that's the resistance level. It's just above. So I'm going to wait till it proves that it can take that out before I get in. So I don't think this has run too far. We've had, I think, 2 days since I had that out, so it's 2 indecisive days. That's doable. So I would just go with that trade plan that I put out the other day. I can pull that up for you if you need it, but you can find it on the website and the blog. With images and markup and everything. Okay, let's see. Scott FDC. First data was, let's try that again. It's pulled back. It stopped me out. I don't know if it was yesterday. Sometime recently. Probably was yesterday. But I wasn't using the V-stop, but that was pretty close to falling back too much for me as it was. If you got in at 40 or 24, 23. Okay, so you're basically in from here. And you're, at this point, you're up. $1.15 a share, something like that. To me, this spinning top doji type candle can either be a continuation of a doji continuation to the downside, or it can be the start of a morning star. So I would see how it opened. If it opened to the downside or didn't immediately move up, I would consider locking in my profits. Where do you see potential support? To me, that looks like potential support there across these highs, this high, and these lows. Someplace in there. They're not meant to be a penny wide, but someplace in there seems to be support. I would like to give that a chance to work at this point, because you've already taken whatever that is, a buck, a couple bucks. Yeah, you've already taken a buck and a half worth off of the high, so that's already been given back. At this point, I guess I would give it a chance to work, a chance to become that morning star tomorrow. It's not like you can sell it tonight anyway, but basically I'd keep an eye on it and how it opens. And I'd have a pretty tight stop at this point. I would, I certainly wouldn't want it to go below today's low. That's my thoughts. Okay, let's see. You're welcome, Scott. THC. Well, that looks like the next real support there. You may get some support off of the 200, but to me, the first real support looks like it's down here about 25, whatever, 16, 20, 10, someplace right in that area there. So where are you short from, did you say? No. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you got short probably a good place would have been right in here. Is that kind of maybe you got in on this day, the 7th, 30.90? Yeah, I was within a nickel. So yeah, that was probably the day you got in as well. That's been a nice little run. So far you're about 10% to the good here. I think there's a little more of a run in it, but you can see how we've bottomed out there, we've got something approaching a shelf there. I would not let it run too much higher. But I do think it could fall, because there's nothing in the recent history back into 2016 where we can find some support there. 28.86, that seems reasonable. It's right in this area. It's it's tighter than the V-stop, but I don't think that's terribly unreasonable. I would not want to give much of it back at this point, because you've had a nice run, and there have been some potential signs that you may have some support there. But I would see how it opens, and what the general market is going to look like, because I kind of expect us to see a little bit of pullback tomorrow. The bulls have made their all-time highs and had a great week, and just going into the weekend might be a good time for profit taking. So that if that happens, Tenet may continue the fall here. So I'd see how it opens, but that's not unreasonable to me. I think it's pretty tight, but that's where you would want it to be at this point. You got to protect the profits you've made. Okay, guys, we're going to call it a night here. David, I think it was you that had not seen the scanning tool before. Is there anything else I can show you on the scanning tool that might help you out? I just want you to get the full flavor of it. And by the way, Rick announced in the room today, and so we'll certainly do that, is that the new real-time scanner that we haven't even named yet, when that product comes out, it'll be a separate product, but all Trader Vision users will give you 3 months of that product free, and it's going to be pretty slick. So, well, welcome, Woody. I'm glad you came. Can I answer any questions? Do you understand? I don't know where you're coming from, but I can tell you that Trader Vision is meant to be end-to-end support for traders. Starts with setting your goals and making sure you set smart, realistic goals that can be broken down to per trade actionable information that you can use to manage with. Then you scan, find your trades that fits your particular trading style and the patterns you like, the signals you like, etc. Then you validate those trades against trading rules. I'll just open up this last one for argument's sake, and you can see that we've got 4 bullish conditions. You're trading with the market biases, long and short term. You're trading against the long-term bias because it hasn't flipped. It's a rounded bottom breakout. That's to be expected, so that one doesn't bother me. And you're trading with the short-term bias on the ticker. That's great. Tons of liquidity. You've got the T line, which is the 8 EMA, is above the 34 EMA, and you can see the recent candles, and you see the patterns that we've got here. So you validate it against your rules, then you validate it, for position sizing and the amount of risk that you want to take. And by the way, this is just one of 3 ways that you can do position sizing. Kimberly, he's not going to put out the one from Tuesday. His microphone was giving him trouble, and the audio was awful. And so he said he was going to try to record a replacement for it. He did go over his I don't even know what he calls them, but the 3 little lines that he's come up with, linear regressions basically, of T line of the high, T line of the low, and I don't remember if the 3rd one is of the T line or is it of price, but the 3 linear regression lines he's added recently. He did go over that today, but if we talk to him again tomorrow, I'm sure he can go over it again and probably record it. I don't know if he recorded it today. And he'll put something out, but unfortunately the audio was terrible Tuesday night, and so that's not something that he'd have to re-record the audio. Oh, you're welcome, Kimberly. Okay, so that's the basic idea, Woody, as I was saying, is you plan out your trade, and it takes so much pressure off you. You can play with these numbers and the scenarios, and you know exactly what dollars and what's percent you've got at risk. You know what the potential rewards are. You know where you've got to go to reach your goal. You know what you're getting in terms of reward to risk. There's no surprises while you're in the trade. and that really helps with the emotions. And you can take notes, you can attach screenshots, as many as you want, or Excel files, or whatever else you want. And then once you move the trade to execution, what that does for you then is it will record when you place the orders, it will record when you change the prices and so forth. So you come back to this trade a year from now, you'll be able to see exactly what you were thinking, exactly when you changed, what you changed. You know, you could have a before, during, and after screenshot if you like. And of course, you've got these current conditions at the time the trade was entered and at the time the trade was closed, so you know what the market was doing then too. $37 a month. There is a setup fee or initiation fee. So basically what happens is the initial charge is $100 and I believe it's $86, and that includes $149 setup fee and the first month's subscription. However, we give you 2 months for that first. Basically it's buy one get one free on the first month, and after that, after 60 days, it's $37 a month. The back side of this then is after you've gone ahead and done your trades, you can go and look at your performance and measure your performance against whatever you have set up for your account. So this one's set up to measure against the IWM. And you see all the statistics. You can see a breakdown of umpteen different ways. You can break your performance down looking for patterns, looking for problems that you need to solve, and so forth. So sorry I'm not the greatest salesman in the world, but that is the long and short of what Trader Vision's about. It came out of my head with a swift kick from Doug Campbell as an end-to-end support tool for traders to help them plan and analyze their trades up front and then analyze their performance after the fact. Okay guys, I hope that that is useful. I'm glad that you came out this evening, and I'm glad we stuck around. There a few minutes before we started, I thought it was really going to be a thin group tonight, but it turned out better than I thought. So, if you have any questions, by the way, let me do this. If you have any questions, you can always contact me at ed@tradervision2020.com. I do a daily blog where I mark up and plan out a trade every single day. That's on the website. Let's move this over here. It's on the website under Trade Ideas TV 2020 Trade Plans. Scott, I'm going to tell you no. And for the recording, the question was, is there a way to use Trader Vision to plan options trades? I'm going to say no. It's not, there's no, I can't analyze the delta for you. I can't, give you a look at the chains, anything of that nature. That said, there are several people who tell me they plan their options trades using Trader Vision. So they plan out just like we've planned the trades tonight ourselves, and they make sure it's a good stock trade before they then go to the options. I don't know that I would do that. I don't do that, by the way, but there are some people that do. I personally don't think I don't want to tell you that you can. So I would say that the answer is no, but that there are some people that use it that will tell you that they do some of their planning this way. Again, the blog's here under on hitanduncandlesticks.com under trade ideas, trade TV 2020 trade plans. You can always email me at ed@tradervision2020.com. I'll be happy to help you and answer anything I can. I've got a YouTube channel as well, which you can also get to from the blog. And that's basically TraderVision 2020 V2. It stands for version 2. Okay, guys. I thank you for coming out and spending your Thursday evening with me. Everybody have a great evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow.